All right, we got a crowd. So what y'all saying is I should pay attention because these ladies are very popular, clearly, because y'all came out in this weather to see them. So give yourselves a round of applause, okay? All right. So with that being said, it is time for our 1 p.m. program, Books, TikTok, Booktok. What's up with hashtag Booktok? Well, here at this table, we have Lockhart, Ayana Gray, and Tashie Bhuiyan, and this panel will be moderated by Jessica Goodman.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out in this terrible weather, but we're so excited to see you and talk about all things Booktok. My name is Jessica Goodman, and before we begin, I just wanted to let everybody know that we're not doing the signings here anymore after the panel, but if you want to purchase any of the books from these wonderful authors, you can head down to Community Bookstore or Bookstore Magic, or find there are titles online at those bookstores too, so that's really exciting. And I just wanted to introduce the wonderful authors we have today. We have first Lockhart. She is the author of the #1 New York Times bestselling novel, We Were Liars, and New York Times bestseller prequel, Family of Liars. She invented the superhero whistle for DC Comics, and other novels include Again, Again, Genuine Fraud, The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks, which was a National Book Award finalist, and a Prince Award honor book. So hello to Lockhart. We also have Tashie Bhuiyan, who is the author of Counting Down with You and a New Yorker through and through. She recently graduated with a bachelor's degree in public relations and hopes to change the world one book at a time. She loves writing stories about girls with wild hearts, boys who wear rings, and gaining agency through growth. When she's not doing that, she can be found in a Chipotle or a bookstore. Sounds great. Insisting 2010 is the best year in cinematic history, aka read Tangled and Inception. And her latest book is a show for two. So hello to Tashie. And then we also have Ayana Gray, who is the New York Times bestselling author of the young adult fantasy books, and she's a lover of all things monsters, mythos, and magic. Her most recent book is Beasts of Ruin. Originally from Atlanta, Georgia, she now lives in Little Rock, Arkansas, where she just flew in from this morning, which is great. And there she avidly reads and she follows Formula One racing and worries over the varying moods of her adopted black baby rhino Apollo and her mini golden doodle Dolly. Follow on Instagram for all things Dolly, so cute. And her debut novel, Beasts of Prey, is being adapted for feature film. So cool. So we're here to talk about all things Booktok, and I would love for our three authors here to first pitch their latest book to the TikTok audience. Let's start with E.
Family of Liars is the prequel to my novel, We Were Liars, which is set on a private island off the coast of Massachusetts that's owned by a single family, the Sinclair family. Set in 1987, the story tells about three Sinclair sisters whose lives are upended by the arrival of a literal boatload of cute boys and one girl. So these extremely attractive people show up, live in the guest house, upend everyone's lives, and everything goes very dark after that.
It's great. Tashie, how about you?
Okay, so imagine you're in high school and then Tom Holland enrolls undercover at your high school. So that happened to me while I was in my senior year. So I was like, damn, imagine a celebrity just enrolls in your high school undercover and then like you meet them and like you fall in love, theoretically. Not that me and Tom Holland fall in love. But I thought it was a cool idea, so that's what A Show for Two is.
Amazing.
I never get over how cool that is. Like, I know it's a real story.
It's crazy. Like
one of these met him and
yeah, like I met him, I took pictures with him. I was like, oh my God, can I see the new Spider-Man suit? And he was like, no.
Follow Tashie on TikTok for all of that content.
Yes, you can see all the Tom Holland content.
I am really bad at pitching my book TikTok style. So it's like I feel like I have to talk really fast. But the Beasts of Prey trilogy, I always tell people it's Black kids vibing. Black kids vibing, getting to go on a magical adventure without having to necessarily deal with racism, which a lot of books about Black kids typically do. Magical, like African mythology, lots of monsters that you probably have never heard of before. A bit of enemies to lovers romance sprinkled in there, and yeah. And lots of magic, of course.
Amazing. So we've moved past the conversation, like, is TikTok a thing? Clearly, by the number of people that are here, TikTok is definitely a thing, especially when it comes to books. And so many authors have now made it a real part of their career in terms of posting content and engaging with readers. And I'm curious, for each of you, what is your relationship to TikTok and how does it fit into your workload as an author? So, Ayana, let's start with you at the end.
Okay. I have a complicated relationship with TikTok because I'm actually an introvert. People don't believe me, but I really prefer like quiet and being with my books and so to put yourself out there on social media in such a like public way where things can go viral is a bit scary. But the silver lining and the thing I try to focus on is how many people I've gotten to meet and connect with because of TikTok. So it's like any social medium, it's a little bit scary, but I think what it can do makes it worth it most of the time.
Your TikTok is so interesting because I feel like you guys have all seen her TikTok, right? Yeah. But in case you don't know, it's like a really interesting to me mix. Like you have some sections that are like about Black history. You have sections that are about like what outfit you're wearing. You have sections that are about publishing or about your journey as an author. So it's like, to me, it's like a magazine that has like serious journalism and also fashion. And I was curious, like, how did you figure out that like that's what you were doing on TikTok? Because I still don't know what I'm doing on it.
Oh, failure. Like I tried to do when I first got on TikTok, and by the way, thank you so much for saying that. I tried to like figure out what the trends were and figure out like I don't have time to learn 20 different dances a week. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, no, that's literally why I didn't get on TikTok for a long time, because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get on there and like dance to promote my book. And I was like, I can't do that. I'm not doing that.
Dance, put makeup on, like I can't do that and write and answer emails. Like I can't do it. And so I'm like, okay, what are things that I know about that I can just pick up my phone and talk about and then be done? And I have a degree in African and African American history. I know a lot about Black history, so I was just like, what's easiest? And my books have a lot of Black history in them, so it was a nice, tie-in.
Segue.
Yeah. So whatever's easiest. I'm glad it looks coordinated. It's not.
Tashie, how about you? Like, what is your relationship like to TikTok?
Well, so I'm Gen Z, right? So I'm on that app for like 10 hours a day, just like scrolling, just like vibing. So when I first got it, I was like, oh, like I feel like you kind of associate it with like the dances and everything. So I was kind of like, oh, and like I didn't get it for a long time. And then like my 16-year-old cousin was like, you're not on TikTok? Like, that's humiliating for you. And I was like, so I'm gonna download TikTok. But then after that, like I realized like there's a lot of like niches. Like your For You page gets very specific to like what you actually like and enjoy. So when I started seeing stuff that like I felt like I could do, like I saw like people talking about their favorite books or like just like like just having fun, like just doing like showing like their shelves and stuff. I was like, oh, I can do that. Like that's not that hard. And then I feel like just like because like I am just on the social media for fun for myself, like unrelated to books, I was like, okay, like this feels like a natural extension of just like when I post like on an Instagram story or like I tweet something utterly ridiculous. So I feel like it became like a really natural part of like my writing career because I was like, I'm just on this app anyway, so I might as well like profit from it.
But it also seems like you're having fun. Like
Yeah.
I went down that rabbit hole. I just kept watching all these videos of you, but I was just like, it was very joyful. You're putting out a very joyful, like fun vibe,
Yeah.
which I think reflects like what's in your books, even though you're not necessarily always talking about.
Yeah,
your books.
I think it's
You're
funny
like, this is
because
my-
I literally
my personality, and it's
the
on
other
page.
day I made this thing and I was like, if you were ever wondering how authors spend their publishing money, and then it's just like a binder full of K-pop photo cards. I was like, this is what I'm doing. So
That's incredible. And Emily, how about you? What's your relationship like to TikTok?
Well, I got really famous on TikTok without ever being on TikTok. So that was a really strange thing. And what happened
That's a flex.
was that I did nothing. And I didn't have the app, and people started making videos about We Were Liars, and the people who were making these videos were really smart, interesting Booktok creators, and they made, I would say, basically two different kinds of videos, and one kind I would call like an aesthetic, where they took like the vibe of the book and made collage photos and video clips and stuff and put a great song to it, and was like, you know, read this book based on
Right,
its
like they have
aesthetic.
to move the pictures on the beat, and it's like it scratches your brain just right.
It really does.
Yeah, and they were really good. There were a number of them. And then the other kind was basically crying, throwing the book across the room, mascara running down the face, snot coming out the nose, and it would say something like WTF, this book. And that combination just, it was like, you know, a combination of people making like really cool films, like little mini films, and then also really vulnerable, opinionated commentary that showed emotion. And I think that's really different from what you see on Instagram or Twitter. You know, you don't see that emotion in the conversations around books. And so now I'm on TikTok, and sometimes I do a silly dance, and sometimes I talk about a book, and sometimes I don't really know what I do. Sometimes I do stuff on TikTok, and
As long as you're having fun.
I don't do it unless it seems entertaining. I don't do it because my publisher forces me to do it. I do
Yeah.
it because like maybe I have a little idea for content that I think my readers might like, and I just think of it like I'm offering something that is content that comes out of my brain. I
Just like
can't
your
follow
books.
a trend. I can't, you know what I mean? And it just is what it is. But really, the reason I'm on this panel is because of work that other people did that was amazing.
I mean, it's so interesting. I think Tashie kind of touched on this, where it's like you're doing things on TikTok that feel organic to you and your life, and aren't just like, here, buy my book. Like this is just a marketing tool. So I'm curious, you know, for all of you, and we can start with Tashie, like how you balance the making content in order to connect with readers and encourage them to buy your work and support you, but also just like being a person on the internet. Like, how do you balance that, and how do you think of yourself in terms of being like a content creator, but also like part of a community in that way?
I feel like it's like a very strange line, because it's like on one hand it's like separating like personal from like work or whatever, but I feel like a part of my brain, like the back of my brain, is always on when I'm watching TikTok. I'm like, okay, I need to save this audio because I feel like this would actually come in handy later and stuff like that. But I feel like it's also just like a thing where like the more you scroll on TikTok, the more you're like, either you're going down a depression hole, which is valid. We've all been there. Or you're like literally like so invested that you like don't even realize like you've spent so many hours on there. And I feel like once you've done that, like you realize like all you're doing is filming like a 1-minute video. Like it's not that big of a deal, but it does feel like a lot when you're first like getting into it. But once you do that, I feel like it's like not as hard. So I feel like I just like, when I look good, I'm like, okay, let me take 15 minutes out of my day to film a TikTok today. But when I don't look good, I'm like, that's just not my business. So I feel like it's just like figuring out that line of like, okay, like today I'm gonna be on for this. But like, I feel like the back of your brain's always still working. Like even when you're not on, you're like, ooh, that's a cute trend. Like, so true, bestie.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, Ayana, what do you think?
I think like I actually think about this a lot. A lot of it has to do with access, and like I'm about to date / maybe embarrass myself. But that's okay. I'm millennial. Like I'm turning 30 in a few months, and so when I was so when I was a teenager, like it was Twilight. It was Twilight. It was the Hunger Games.
I was also in that Twilight phase though, at like 9 years
Twilight
old.
fan.
So that was.
But here's the thing, like that was so like that was when YA boomed. But what I remember, because I was an aspiring writer, is I wanted to know everything about Stephenie Meyer.
Yeah.
And I went to her website, and she had a blog. But you did not have access to Stephenie Meyer like that. Like there was no tweeting her. There was no like.
I wish you could have. I would have begged for the Midnight Sun draft. I would have been like, where is Midnight Sun?
That's precisely why I don't think she. Like
She knew.
And Susan, no one knows where Suzanne Collins is. But like, it's interesting because those authors who were big in that moment were so removed from their readers, whereas because of things like TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, you can literally just message me, and there's good and bad things about that. Yeah. Like, it's cool when someone's like, I've never met another Ayana before, and I'm like, hey, fam. But then it's also weird because people feel almost sometimes entitled to
like a parasocial type of...
Yeah, / don't remember that you're an actual person. Like, you sort of lose a bit of that humanity. So, like you said, it's a weird line. Yeah. I think, though, what people respond best to, especially in places like TikTok, is authenticity and this feeling like you're having a constant conversation, and like, it's not, buy my book, youths. And it's like, that's not how the youths talk, like, it's genuine. It's like, hey, I'm this black girl who didn't have fantasy books when I was a kid. I love this stuff. I'm a nerd. I'm not like apologizing for it. This is who I am. If you want to vibe with me, okay, cool. By the way, I write books, and people either do or don't. Some people just want to engage on TikTok and not buy books, and I'm not like, well, I can't talk to you now because you're not a consumer. Right. It's just I think the most success you find on TikTok is through being genuine.
Yeah. Emily, how about you?
I forgot the question.
Talking about like the different ways that you interact, like as an author versus as like a person in the world on TikTok. Like, do you think that there's a line for you when you're...
I have a lot of boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's me. I mean, that's also me just as a regular human. But I show certain parts of myself, and I do not show other parts of myself. I never speak about my children. I never speak about my spouse. You can see my cats, right?
Oh my
so
God.
that's
I love cat videos.
Oh, I love a good cat video. But I've made that decision, and that's where I'm at, and that's comfortable for me. I'm willing to do a stupid dance. That I make up. I can't learn someone else's dance, but I'm happy to make up a stupid dance.
When you start a TikTok trend, then we will all realize.
And dance it. But why am I available to do a silly dance on video and I can't do any number of 10 other things that are fun and entertaining? I don't know, but that's where I am. You know what I mean? So I just have sort of thought to myself, like, this is the kind of stuff I share online. This is the kind of stuff I don't. And I pretty much made that choice. And I try to be genuine and available and open-hearted in the lane that I chose to do.
Absolutely. We're just going to pause for one moment. I believe we have a special visitor.
Hello, everyone. Hello. They're all clapping. Nobody knows who I am. It's okay. I am Antonio Reynoso, and I am the president of the great borough of Brooklyn. So I'm very happy to be here. So welcome home. This is your home, and I'm so glad we could figure out a way to accommodate all these panels, considering the circumstances and what we're seeing outside. But it's what Brooklyn's about. We always figure it out. We always find a way. So I'm so happy to see so many folks here. This is a great panel. I'm really talking about, the younger generation and really figuring out a way to make sure we keep reading, are involved in books, and just different ways that we continue to spread love, which is a quote, spread love is the Brooklyn way, is a quote from the great Christopher Wallace, better known as the Notorious B.I.G. And it just really is a mantra that we could all abide by. But I'm really here just to say welcome, enjoy. This is your house. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you to the panel for the great work that they're doing. And like Christopher Wallace said, don't forget to spread love is the Brooklyn way. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for stopping by. So, we've talked a little bit about, setting boundaries and engaging with readers and how authors kind of figure into the whole Booktok world because, like Emily said, a lot of Booktok is really readers, and they're kind of determining what the big books are on Booktok, and it's hard for authors to be like, actually, my book is the big book on Booktok. Like, that's not really how it works. So I'm curious, like, how you all choose to engage with readers who give you feedback online, and if you have different ways of approaching that, because something that we often talk about in the author community is like, where are the spaces that are not really for us, you know, and what happens when we get tagged in negative reviews, and like what is our role in you know, staying connected or not in that way. And I'm curious, let's start with Emily, how you deal with that kind of engagement. Do you choose often to not engage, or, you know, are there places where you're just like, this isn't for me, this is for readers?
Yeah, I think there's a huge amount of material, spaces, conversations on the internet about books that are not for authors, right? I don't think, and again, you can disagree with me, but I don't think we belong in review spaces. Mm-hmm. So when people are having book talk conversations about my books or other books, I don't think I should participate in them, even if it's about some book that is not my book, right? I shouldn't, as an author, get involved in a conversation that wasn't meant to include people who are professional authors. It's about readers and engagement with one another, reading communities. And if you feel like the authors are kind of spying on you, I think that can really, really, you know, reframe a space in a bad way. So I stay the heck out of that. I definitely recommend books that I love on social media, but I'm not expecting to get into a critical or analytical conversation about them. If I don't like something, I don't post about it. I'm in the positive content business in terms of thinking about what I say about books online. And, you know, I was trained as a literary critic, right? I was trained to like go in there, and I used to write all these reviews, and whatever. I have a doctorate in English literature. I like to take things apart, but I don't take them apart on my social media.
Yeah. Tashie, how about you?
Yeah, I feel like there are spaces that are just for reviewers only. Like, I try not to engage if I'm not tagged in it. And even sometimes when you're tagged in it, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna mind my business about that one. I don't like use Twitter that often anymore at all. So I'm mostly just like on Instagram and TikTok. And I feel like it's a little easier there to like not see content like that isn't like for you, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like on Instagram, like, you're following your friends. Like, sometimes, obviously, the Instagram algorithm shows you random things that you didn't ask for in your life. But for the most part, like, I feel like if a reader's tagging you in it, you'll see it. But other than that, unless they, like, message you, you probably won't, like, come across it. And on TikTok, I feel like my For You page is just cat videos at this point, or K-pop. So I'm like, I'm good. But it's, like, it's nice, though, when readers do tag you in things that they want you to see. Like, it feels very, like, meaningful and nice. But, like, there's definitely, like, a line, I feel like, where you're like, this isn't for me, like, and I feel like when I was a reader too, like, I wouldn't want someone to be like over my shoulder, like, I would be so scared to say anything, and I wouldn't want like that for my readers. Like, I would just want them to like enjoy or not enjoy, and that's their business, and it's not my business. So
Yeah. Ayana?
I always remember, so there's this author you all might have heard of. His name's Rick Riordan. And I remember, it was actually on Twitter, a reader added him. I hate saying added, but you know what I'm saying. They tweeted at him, and they were like, hey, my friend and I are wondering if this character is gay. And again, a cool thing about Twitter is you can just ask. And he said, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but essentially he was like, if the character is gay to you, they're gay. And basically, the relationship a reader has with the book is none of the author's business.
Yeah.
And I really hold to that. And so I know I write my books with a certain context, with my life experience, but the minute pub day comes and it's out in the world, it's not mine anymore. And there are, you know, readers coming from all walks of life who will take all the things that are part of who they are, and as they read, they're reading in that context.
Yeah.
And I respect it, and I'm actually very cool with letting go. Usually because by then I've read the book like a billion times and I don't want to read it anymore.
Been there.
oh my God, you know what I love is when like someone like discovers something about your book that you didn't put in there. You're like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do that.
I see the symbolism on page 92 and like, I planned that. I
Yeah, that was
definitely planned
100% all me. That was my brain for
Yeah.
sure. That wasn't like a coincidence.
Yeah, so I've done, I think, a pretty good job of curating my spaces to, like you said, where there's like author talk. I feel like author talk's a sub-community of book talk, and so a lot of my stuff is seeing my friends, and occasionally I'll see a book recommendation. I'm like, oh, my friend wrote that, and then, you know, quickly swipe away because I don't want to like trick the algorithm into showing me more. But I'm very comfortable with having a pretty hard boundary, you know, because I don't want to be in the reader spaces anymore. And, you know, just like authors have we have our safe spaces where we can, you know, talk about whatever, you know, things we're struggling with privately. I think readers should have that respect and that right too.
Yeah. I'm just going to take a guess and assume that there are some writers or aspiring writers in the room, some who maybe are interested in what being on Booktok, like what they should do, and, you know, some advice if they want to get on Booktok or be part of this community. And I think that a lot of people see these articles about Booktok and they see a few authors who've had just like enormous success by, you know, posting about their book, and then all of a sudden, you know, their whole life changes overnight because of Booktok. And I'm curious what you would say to somebody who says, okay, I'm going to post a video on Booktok and then I'm just going to be able to sell my book and like my whole life is going to change because of this. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who thinks that's going to happen? Ayana, do you want to
Good plan. Good plan. You should absolutely do that. Your whole life is going to depend on it. I would say, like, write a good book, no matter what. Like, that's the thing that matters more than anything else. I have, like, I write YA fantasy. Some of my favorite YA fantasy authors are nowhere near Booktok, nor will they ever be anywhere near Booktok because that's not who they are. But I have hand sold 10 copies of their book because I love it so much. So if TikTok is your thing, if you have fun, like you said, you know, you hear a song or a sound and you're like, I want to do something with that, like, go do it. But, you know, there are other people who just, like, they draw and they take pictures of their drawings of their characters and that's their joy and they do it. Again, that authenticity, especially with TikTok, people can tell when you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost a disservice. Like, you're doing probably more harm to your work and your brand and your books by visibly being uncomfortable somewhere than just doing the thing that makes you happy anyway. And again, if you write a good book, you know, from your heart, I genuinely believe the right readers will find it. I would not say to write a book for TikTok, like for the trends, because trends change. Like, we remember dystopias were the thing. We remember paranormal vampire romance was the thing. These are all trends. They come and they go and they come again and they change. So write the book that is most authentic to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Tashie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like the key is just like writing the book that's true to your heart and enjoying it and loving it. And then if you enjoy using TikTok, like, you can definitely make videos about it, but I wouldn't like bank on it. But I also think if you just post like one video and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go viral, like that's hard to achieve. So I feel like if you're actually like enjoying making TikToks, you're proud of your book, like just make as many TikToks about your book that you feel comfortable making. And the more you make, the more likely it is that the algorithm will one day be like, all right, we can go viral. But at the end of the day, I feel like what matters is you're proud of your book and that you're happy with what you've put out. And then, like, I feel like everything else will come naturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Emily?
Yeah, I mean, what they said. But if everybody likes you, you're a liar, right? I think that's true. I really think about that all the time. So, you know, popularity is nice, but I'm here to tell you, having experienced it for the past 2 years because of TikTok, it's still not that life-changing. Right? What's life-changing is writing a book and then writing another book and knowing that you can tell stories and you can find an audience for them and that there are readers out there and having, you know, confidence in the fact that you're building your craft and making things and saying things and putting them out in the world. So that's life-changing, and, you know, popularity is gravy.
It is.
I love that. I mean, I think at the end of the day, nothing beats an incredible book. Like, if you find it on TikTok, if you find it somewhere else, like, nothing beats having an incredible book. But, you know, I think a lot of people go into bookstores these days, or they go online and they see these lists that are like, here's what's popular on Booktok. Like, if you go into, you know, a popular book chain, you might see all the tables about like what's on Booktok, what's on Booktok, what's on Booktok. And I think we talk a lot in the industry about like how those tables and these lists have changed the industry, or like the publishing industry, and the way that people surface recommendations. And I'm curious how you all have seen this shift over the past few years, like within, maybe this is a little like kind of granular, but like within your editorial conversations, within your publicity conversations, like what has changed with the rise of this community? Emily, do you want to start?
I don't honestly find that much has changed.
Yeah.
Like, publishing is still interested in a good book.
Yeah.
Publishing still doesn't know what the next trend is going to be. They have no idea. They only know what happened to be popular this week and maybe they might buy a couple books based on that, but overall, they're winging it, and they're supporting books that they think are exciting, and and it takes 2 to 3 years to get a book out onto the, from the moment you buy it on a proposal to when it's actually published. So if you're chasing trends, it's never going to be your friend. Yeah, I think it's not changed that much. And social media is going to change, right? TikTok is huge right now, but we will have a different social media at some point, and it will shape book conversations in new ways based on how users decide to use that media, and that's unpredictable.
Absolutely. Yeah, Tashie?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I've noticed is that like my marketing team will be like, oh, like, do you have any TikTok ideas? Like, they don't force me to make any, but they're like, oh, do you have any? Like, do you want to brainstorm with us? Like, what the vibe is kind of there? Or like, they're like, oh, like, if you happen to go to a bookstore and you're signing your books, like, if you want to film it and post it on Booktok, like, that might be fun. Like, you don't have to, but if you do. So I feel like it's like, now there's like another option, but it's not like mandatory, but it's just like another way to kind of connect with your readers, but it doesn't really like necessarily change a lot. Like, I feel like the publishing process is the exact same. Like, at the end of the day, you have to draft your book, you have to revise it, you have to do like copy edits, like et cetera, and you're always going to do some kind of marketing for your book. So to like, it's just like one extra facet, I feel like.
I'm going to be like the total writer here and use a very weird analogy. You guys have to stay with me.
I'm really excited.
Okay, you're not going to be expecting it. So I was in Vegas 2 months ago, and you're already like, where is this going? And my sister talked my mom and I into there's a Titanic museum in Vegas for some reason, and it's really cool. No, it's like a really cool museum. I'm a nerd. I love museums. I love to learn. And so the museum takes you step by step through what happened in a way that I thought was really cool as a storyteller, and you follow the narratives of all these people. But one of the things that I walked away from that experience thinking was like, the Titanic was this gigantic ship. And you think about all of I think of publishing that way, as this gigantic ship that does not sink like the Titanic, but like, I think people are like, well, why didn't the captain just steer away from the iceberg? And people forget it was a huge ship, and I know it's a weird analogy, but like what I'm getting at is think of TikTok as like a really strong breeze. Even a really strong breeze, it's going to take a lot to move that ship. Publishing is a century-old industry, and yes, it moves a little bit here and there, but it's going to take a lot to really shift its direction. And so while I do feel like, TikTok has had impacts on things like marketing, my editor's not like giving me notes saying, hey, Ayana, I really think the youths would love if you added a kissing scene right here so they could cry about it. Like, that's not a conversation that's happening. And I don't, just to put people who are not TikTok people at ease, while I think TikTok is important, I truly do not think it's this phenomenon that you're going to have to change the way you write to accommodate. Yeah. Publishing is a really strong, really and I've lost it. It's consistent, it's strong and hearty and all of these things. And so, like I said, trends come and go. You'll find what's most important is the writing. I know that was a super weird journey I took you all on.
I think it works really well. I think that's a great analogy.
I think it might be different for as a person whose For You page is mostly cooking videos and cats, I will, like cookbook authors, right? People who make a really amazing videos. Like, I follow Jake Cohen. He makes some amazing
Oh my God,
Jewish
I didn't know
food.
this existed. I need to look this up.
Yeah.
Cookbook
And,
author TikTok.
Oh yeah,
great.
cookbook author TikTok is amazing, and also Instagram Reels. But he's like braiding all this holly, makes rainbow holly, he makes all these things, and I fully went on Goldbelly and like ordered his rainbow challah, and he has a cookbook out, and anyway. So that worked for me. Do you know what I mean? Because he's creating very genuine content that is explicitly related to his book. When you're a novelist, there's not. It's like, you're able to make a lot of videos about like stuff that relates to your life that translates into your book, but there's only so much content you can make about the content of your book, right? You're not a filmmaker. You don't have my books are set on a private island. I'm not there. So like every now and then I go to the beach and I like take some video.
Let's get Lockhart an island, guys.
So I've never even been on a private island. So, I think, for people who are in certain kinds of fields that are especially video friendly, like cooking, or I've also bought the Maru book. Do you know Maru the cat who's on, anyway. If you like cat videos, Maru. He's not on TikTok, he's on YouTube, but I fully bought a Maru book because this cat was so damn cute. And, but fiction is different, that's, I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, I'm not sure how much time we have left. I'm hoping a little bit more because I'd love to open it up for a couple audience questions. So if anybody has a question, feel free to raise your hand. Okay, I see a purple arm back there. Yeah, would you stand up and just project very loudly?
Oh, that's such a good question. I looked at similar videos, right? So, like, Bookstand was not a thing that I knew about, right? But I saw that hashtag, Bookstand Brazil. I sell a lot of books in Brazil. So when I was traveling to Brazil, I used that hashtag in the month before to connect with my Brazilian readers. And I did that I found that hashtag by looking up, Brazilian Booktok, basically searching it and seeing what hashtags they used.
I just hashtagged Tom Holland and called it a day.
I had to get over like this weird honor system I had in my head where I was like, I can't, like if Tashie made a TikTok that I like, I would be like, I can't copy exactly what she's doing. That's unethical.
Well, you can't use Tom Holland.
Well, no, I can't use Tom Holland. I actually cannot. Like,
You could
ethically.
try.
I could. It wouldn't.
It wouldn't really work, but you could try.
Yeah.
You could be like,
I might
imagine
try.
if Tom Holland read my book and this was
Do
Tom
a
Holland.
reaction,
Right.
POV.
This is
Same.
how Tom Holland would react to Beasts of Prey, and then you just act it out.
That's how the magic is made.
Sometimes the sound is a useful, like I've used a couple sounds from the originals TV show, which if you haven't seen it and you like sexy vampires,
Who doesn't love Klaus Michelson?
No, I know.
Like, let's.
I know. So anyway, so I would not have thought necessarily that my readers cross-pollinated with originals viewers, but when I used the original sound, I used an originals hashtag as well, just to sort of, basically to, appropriately credit the sound, and those videos did really nicely.
You really study it, like you said. I asked somebody else. I spend 10 hours on TikTok, and the more you study the kinds of hashtags people use, the sounds people are using, what TikTok, like certain hashtags are trending at a certain moment.
Oh my God, yeah. It doesn't matter if it relates to your work. Just
Yeah,
throw it in there.
yeah,
Throw it in there. Just be like, okay.
And the more varied you are,
Like
sometimes-
hashtag Hot Wheels. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. My book is about cars.
if there's a new, I'm sure there'll be an Avatar hashtag soon because the movie's coming out and they'll pay lots of money for that to be a trending hashtag. Like, you just kind of throw, I really think you throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks most of the time.
I feel like the most consistent hashtags are just like hashtag book talk, hashtag
YA
author
fantasy.
talk, right?
Author, yeah.
Or like hashtagging your book title so that like people who like your books will see it more often.
name.
Like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
And sometimes there's if there's something that has the same readership, like The Summer I Turned Pretty. Did anybody see this on television? Right? A lot of people did. And so those are from Jenny Han's YA books. They're amazing books. And I didn't hashtag Summer I Turned Pretty, but I used the soundtracks.
Yeah.
Right? Because the soundtracks were all trending because of the TV show. And I figured people who were watching the TV show were using the soundtracks, and therefore I would use the soundtracks because my audience and Jenny Han's audience overlap.
Yeah, sometimes I'll be on my For You page and I'll get like 7 TikToks with the same sound. I'm like, oh, so true. Okay, I see the vibe.
Amazing. Was there a question up here too? Yeah. Yeah.
Specifically for Tashie, you've mentioned K-pop quite a bit, so I'm curious what your, let's go with top 3. What's your top 3 K-pop groups?
Okay. Stray Kids. Twice. And I'm recently trying to get into 17, but I feel like every K-pop group is great, like BTS, Blackpink, etc. Like I feel like they're all iconic. I love using K-pop sounds for my TikToks. Like it'll like bring in like a random influx of like K-pop stans, and I'm like, we're the same. I see you.
Amazing. Are there any other questions? Okay, yeah. Let's go all the way to the back. Yeah. You could just stand up and speak really loudly. That'd be great.
Hi, I was wondering what your guys' favorite writing space is. Like when you're trying to set up
Oh, great. Yeah, let's start with Ayana, and we'll just go down the
Physical
row.
space. My couch with like an electric blanket because I just use one all year long. With my puppy safely in sight because she destroys things when she's not in sight. Yeah, I feel like I wish I had like a glamorous writing space. Like I will have a writing office someday, but really it's wherever I'm comfortable and not distracted.
Yeah. I feel like mine is anywhere where the chair has a back.
Lumbar
I feel
support.
like I'm always hunching over nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Like, so anywhere where there's a back, I'm like, all right, I can write here. That sounds great. So your couch, your chair, wherever. I can't sit at like, when you go to coffee shops and they only have like the stools, I'm like, I will
can't.
die.
I can't
I
write at coffee
can't
shops.
do this.
No.
I move around. I mean, it's, if I was trying to make some kind of ritualized space where that's where I needed to be to write, I would never get anything done. Like, I'm a parent, I'm traveling for work, I'm writing on airplanes, I'm, writing during the softball games, honestly, because they're really boring. It's just have laptop open and then just blinders go on.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, right here.
I'm a publisher of translated fiction, so we don't publish English language authors. And I'd be curious to know if you have any recommendations for, how to, how authors who write in different languages and maybe are not fluent in English can be present on TikTok, or how publishers could help them to be present.
Yeah. I'm just going to repeat the question in case people didn't hear it in the back. It was about how foreign language writers and publishers can be present on TikTok if they don't speak English. So, yeah.
There's certainly a lot of Brazilian Portuguese TikTok, and they hashtag Brazil and then whatever they're interested in. And so when I was engaging with that for my trip to Brazil, and I don't speak Portuguese, I use Google Translate, and so I made videos in English, and then I typed out my own things that I said, and then I went into Translate, and I subtitled all my videos, and that was just me winging it. But the response when I went to Brazil was really positive, and I was like, oh, I'm sure, like, I messed up with the translations and da-da-da, but they were just like, yay, it was so nice to see you have a go, you know what I mean? And so the vibe was really positive. And so I would think you could, if you could make an engaging video and then title it in English, I would think that would be really effective.
Yeah, I feel like maybe using TikTok sounds, because then you wouldn't necessarily have to actually speak in English. Like, you could just use the sound and like act it out or whatever and like relate it to your book. So I feel like if you find like popular sounds or popular trends, you don't necessarily have to like speak in English to promote it.
Yeah, I agree. With music, as cheesy as it sounds, music is very universal. And you think about that, like a TikTok where you've got a book and you hit the screen and then you come back and it's a different
Like a little
book.
transition moment.
Yeah, transitions are, once you learn how to do them,
They're so hard.
it's taken me 2 years. Once you learn them, and that's something that no matter what language you speak, it's a visual thing. People see it. And I just thought about this, but TikTok's sort of like visual Reddit. Like, in that all of these, no, I know it's weird, but like what you said about how you can be talking about books, but if you talk about K-pop, now you're bringing two different communities that would have never come together. So, you can make a transition video with music. You're talking about a book, but then you use music from Twilight, like original Twilight, and now you bring in these new communities who are paying attention to this author who doesn't have to speak any English. Like, I don't want to force non-native English speakers to always have to defer to English either, So.
Great. I think we have time for about one more question, so we'll take one from over here, in the second row. Yeah. Can you stand up and speak loudly, please?
Hi. So I'm also an author, and so sometimes I go and every once in a while I'll check the reviews, just curious. And last time I checked, I saw a really, really funny review, and it was a bad review, but it was super funny because someone just didn't like the parent dynamic, and it actually made me laugh. But I'm curious to see if you guys had any really funny reviews from any of your books, and just want to share just something really out of pocket.
I don't read reviews for my books.
I don't read mine. I've had, like, what's funny is, like, people being like, your books are, recommended for 12 and up, and then this 83-year-old pastor being like, I read your books, young lady, and I don't know if you know this, but you've got some talent.
You know what's funny is when you get tagged in a book that you didn't write.
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
I've been mistaken for Namina Forna, and I'm like, I am 5'8". Namina is 5 feet tall.
Okay, some of us are short, Ayana.
No. It's not about her being short. It's the fact that there's an 8-inch difference.
It's like, I could never be her.
She has short blonde hair. I do not have short blonde hair. Like, we're just both black girls. Also, it wasn't a review, but somebody went out of their way to find my personal Facebook one time to tell me that my TikToks were really great, but I should stop saying so much, and I can be a really great public speaker. So, it was funny. I was like, you took all this effort to tell me this? So,
like, there were levels to that.
Yeah, they told me in the message, they're like, hey, I've been looking for you to tell you that you're a really good speaker, but if you just cut down on your ums. And I'm like, okay.
I'll think about it.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry.
Incredible. Well, thank you all so much for coming to this amazing panel. Let's give it up for these incredible authors. I don't know about you, but I learned a lot. And just a reminder that unfortunately we're not going to be doing a signing anymore because of the rain, but if you want to purchase any books to support these authors, we recommend hitting up the incredible Brooklyn Indie Stores community bookstore, Books Are Magic, Greenlight, I think, and you can find them all online, and some of them are even just a couple short blocks away. So thank you all again.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.